everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to the Professional Foundations Fireside Chat for this week. I see everyone saying hello. Thank you for joining us. It's so good to have you here. Thank you for making it on time. We have a packed session for you. We're going to have an amazing guest come up, and then guess what? This time around, it's not just the Professional Foundations team. For our learners in cohort 10, I know we've had several events, especially onboarding last week. This week, we've had a series of AMA sessions. So you've mostly seen either my face or Lisa or someone else on the team. So in case you're having PF team fatigue, don't worry. We've got you guys. We've brought someone else from another team that will be co-hosting this session with me. So I have the amazing Winnie from the creative tech team. So to those creatives in the house, if you're enrolled in music production, if you're enrolled in AI for creatives, graphic design, we've done every single one of you a solid, and we brought somebody from the team to come host this amazing session. So this session is centered on the creative tech side. So every single person, I think, I like to believe, has a creative side. So it doesn't matter whether you can sing or not, or whether you think you're a writer. I think we all have different creative expressions, right? And this session is just designed to help you lean more into that. So we have a packed session for you. Please settle in. For those who are just joining in the chat, hello, hello, hello to Solomon, hello to Kevin. Thank you all for being here. This is our welcome and introduction. So it means we have about 7 minutes, 6 minutes before we start the main conversation. So please be a good pair, go into your squad, go into your WhatsApp groups, and just send a meeting notification, a reminder to let everyone know that the session is live. Okay, I've lost my slides, but my name is Dorcas. I'll be your host for this session. Welcome to everyone in cohort 10. I hope week 10 is treating you good. I hope your teammates are problem solving alongside you. Hi to everyone in cohort 10. I hope week 2 is going great for you. If you're having issues, don't worry, we'll continue to support you. Please show up for the event, especially the Ask Me Anything, the AMA sessions we're having this week. We'll be there to support you and solve your problem lives. I promise you. So go and ask other people that have shown up. We're ready to help you. So yeah, giving us some time to get our slides back up, but I kind of have them memorized by now. So let's do some housekeeping. As we know, there's different people in the chat, so everyone has a different background. Not everyone is from the same culture as you, so please be polite, be respectful, uphold our values, right? Let's treat each other with respect. The session is recorded. So just in case you want to reference things or you want to reference the session, you want to refresh on things that were spoken about, we would provide the link on the resources channel for those in cohort 9. For cohort 10, we've rebranded, so that's now the program hub, right? So please check on the event recordings. You would find this recording at least by tomorrow morning, okay? If there are things that are said, you want to take notes, feel free to take notes. Network in the chat, but most of all, please pay attention. If you have questions, drop them in the chat. We have a Q&A box as well. So feel free to drop your questions as we go. Make sure it's related to the conversation so that Winnie and our guests can get to the questions. If it's program related, we'll share a Slido link just in case you're having issues with Savannah, and all of that. This is not the session for that. So we'll share a Slido link where you can drop those questions. But please, let's focus on the conversation at hand. Let me try to find my slides as I run us through a quick icebreaker. I want you guys to see and read the icebreaker. Otherwise, I'll just read it out on my end. So let me find our slides and share our icebreaker. Hi, everyone. I'm seeing you guys saying hello. Welcome, welcome. So this is our icebreaker as we get into the session. Let us know something that is a creative skill or interest or an idea that you have always thought about doing something about. You've always thought about turning it into maybe a career, or you're just thinking of exploring, but you haven't quite had the courage to do so yet. So maybe consider this an intervention. Maybe this is the session where you finally break free of whatever it is that's been holding in that big idea. So let me know, what is one creative skill or idea that you think if you give it enough time, this could be something big. You can turn this into a career, or if with the right collaboration, you can do something with it. It will change lives. Let me know in the chat. Let me find that chat. For me, I'll just put myself out there. I think that in another life, I could probably write a good novel. That would just be mine. If I feel like I have so many stories. Excuse me. So in another life, I could write a good. Mhm. I'm seeing you guys responding. Ogaga says podcasting. You know what? It's not too late. It's not too late. Just grab that mic and start speaking. Start sharing your ideas. Somebody says betting. Can you? Let me take the icebreaker again. A creative skill. I don't know where betting falls into this, but just in case you missed it, it's a creative skill or interest. Maybe make a case for yourself for why betting is there. But yeah, sorry to be hard on you. Music production, podcasting, Zipporah, Rex content creation, cool stuff. Ryan would be an Instagram influencer. Please push ALX when you become an influencer. Let the world know. Oyetayo says public speaking, graphics design for Victor. Amazing stuff. I like to think that this session would be a nudge in the right direction for you, just to get those creative juices flowing. I believe that you'll be able to connect to the experiences. Hopefully, you'll be able to connect to the experiences of our guests, and that a light bulb will go off for you in this session. But thank you guys for being engaging as always. So let's move on. So yes, I mentioned, in case you're tired of seeing our faces, someone else more exciting, more engaging, that's here to carry on this conversation. So at this point, like to introduce Winnie, who will be hosting the session, the Fireside Chat conversation with Jon. Winnie is a part of the creative tech team. And yeah, it's an honor to have you here, Winnie. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Dorcas. How are you? How is everyone? Thank you so much for having me here today. What would your novel be about?
You know what? I was saying, I like to think that I've had a bit of experience in life as a young girl, so it would very likely be just learnings about, my life. But of course, it will not be Dorcas. It will be a fictional character, navigating, life in general. Maybe it would be a coming of age novel. I think so. Yeah, most likely. Yeah. How about you? Let me throw it back to you.
I don't know, but I'm married to a creative. As a creative myself, I run a creative agency. So I think one of the things that I want to do is automate the systems around me.
Okay.
So I'm very millennial with age, but hopefully that is something that I get to get out of the way. So not a career because I'm already living it. But thank you for that
Mhm.
question.
Rooting for you.
Um, Now, let us get to the exciting part, everyone. As you've heard, my name is Winnie Amwai. I am dialing in all the way from Kajiado, Kenya, where they keep the cows. It is very cold. In fact, I'm just from doing star jumps to make sure I am warm enough for you guys. Because the person I'm about to bring on stage is so if you're all about podcasting, if you're all about music, if you're all about content creation, graphic design, we have someone who's done it all, guys. I am very privileged to bring an innovator, award-winning innovator, pioneer, content strategist, visionary, founder of African Podcast Network up on stage. It is none other than Jon Savage. His career is a masterclass, guys, in navigating media. Talk about music, technology. From early days, he was also a popular DJ on FM. He's consistently been at the forefront of digital storytelling. He hasn't just witnessed the evolution of creative economy. No, 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 no. He's actively shaped it, guys. Not only through the African Podcast Network, but he has also co-founded AMT Studio, which is based in Johannesburg, empowering thousands of creators. And now with the podium revolutionizing podcast monetization globally, he's not just talking about future of creativity, guys. He's building it. And he is also a well-renowned speaker. He's been on stages like TEDx. So when you're thinking about who are we bringing up on stage, I want you guys to put your emojis, hands together as we welcome Jon Savage all the way from Cape Town.
Thanks, Winnie. Wow, what an intro. That was amazing.
I tried.
Whew,
Thank you. Welcome,
dramatic.
Jon.
Whoever that person is sounds interesting.
You know, they always say if you're introducing a guest and the bio is not long than 4 minutes, then the guest is yet to live life. So yours was long. I was like, I have to summarize, but I cannot dilute what he's done. So thank you so much. So we have learners joining us, and some of them have just kicked off the professional foundation, which is a prerequisite. It is a 3 month course they take before diving into the creative tech specialization. So I want you to go back. Assuming this is you, you've just joined this call. There is a Jon waiting to speak to you. What is that one piece of advice you would want the speaker to give you to just give you momentum, even as you wait to dive into creative tech specialization?
The one piece of advice I would say is all of the barriers to entry in this day and age are fictional. And all the things we think are stopping us from creating big, ambitious projects in Africa are all in our minds. Because with where technology has come, there are no more barriers. This new tech that everyone is scared of has actually made Africa on a level playing field to the rest of the world. And so, no excuses.
I love that. No excuses. Okay, then let's dive deep into your
Okay.
journey. You've been a DJ, CEO, founder. You've done things that most of the human beings will just be thinking, how do I do that? What is that thing that sparked your passion for you to dive into these different creative industries that you're currently in?
Well, look, I think you can't kind of fake passion. For when I was very young, like 12, I knew I either wanted to be in films or in music. And most of my career has been in the pursuit of both of those. So I had a career I actually started off as a trying to get into filmmaking. And it was at a time where there weren't young directors, there was no film schools and stuff like that. I just really wanted to. And I actually wanted to be a musician, but I knew that there was no career in music. But then by fluke, the band I was playing in like blew up. And for 6 years, I was touring the world with this big band that was, traveling all over, selling out places all over the world. And I had the kind of rock and roll experience. But at the end of that, I was like, wow, what is life? I've pursued that. I learned a lot, but what is life like after you've been a musician? So I had to kind of crawl and see what it was like on the other side, like what it was like to have a business and over this career, I've sort of become the middleman hybrid between creators and the corporate world, because I basically lived in both camps. But it's always been being close to innovation in content, in music, and that's what my heart. I run a podcasting empire. I didn't know podcasting was going to be big. I started podcasting in 2009 because I was
Wow.
like stupid and obsessed with podcasting, not ever thinking it would be a career. And by fluke, it's become suddenly podcasting's the hip thing. I didn't know it was going to be. I wasn't like smart. It was just my passion, right? And I think that's the thing about chasing your passions is that you don't know what they're going to become.
I love that. So you talked about very many things. Number one, there was mindset, there was a podcasting. I'd like for you to define for us, even as where you're sitting and what you've done with podcasting. What do you think is the future of podcasting? So because you've seen a lot of, players in the field, different people coming in. What would you say is the future for anyone on this call who wants to even venture into podcasting?
So this is the most exciting space there is, I think. I like to play on the edge of where technology and content creators are innovating. And that's where a lot of my business has been playing in TikTok and Spotify and all of the YouTube, very strong in YouTube. And podcasting was like a sort of a natural evolution. So you're saying what's the future of podcasting? It's still fledgling. It's still, the industry is still being created right in front of us. And especially the last year, we've been building podcasting infrastructure throughout Africa. That was a big insight for us early on, is when we first started. We saw ourselves as like a podcasting network, but we also realized that all the other podcasting networks and podcasters all had the same problems. So we sort of pivoted our idea to become a network for networks. So and podcasters. So we are actually trying to unite podcasters across Africa. And even though that's a noble cause, it's also because we're investing in infrastructure and we're trying to make it safe for brands and media companies to play there, because this whole podcasting industry is going to be financed by brand opportunities. So you really have to build an ecosystem that's brand friendly. And what is really cool is that I've spent a lot of the last year going to and speaking at all the biggest conferences in the world, from podcast show in London to Evolutions in Chicago, in DC, podcast movement. And I went there expecting for Africa to be very much behind the curve. And I found that we are absolutely ahead of the curve. We're pioneers in podcasting. There's a lot of things we do better than anywhere else in the world. The world is looking to podcasting in Africa, but they don't know how to engage with us because we're all still like siloed and living in our own little worlds. And there's some guys, you should check out this company. I've just forgotten the name of it. I will Google it now. Ikena. Um, it's a Nigerian company that is doing the most progressive podcasting tech in the world. The guy is a genius. I've even got his cap over there. I just can't remember the name of his company right now. So there's just so much cool stuff happening in Africa. So that was a long answer to your question, which was, it is a really good time to be getting into podcasting because it's still fledgling. The industry is building. You can have a say in how it's shaped. Your podcast can contribute to the shaping of it. And in that, there's lots of opportunity.
Okay. So I hear a lot of technology adapting. So in the same breath, what would you say is the role of AI in shaping how creatives think and where creativity is going?
Well, this is really deep now. Like I could spend the whole 90 minutes on this topic. So I'm going to take it a bit slow on this question, if that's okay.
That's fine. Take all the time.
I'm very, like, I'm not like a corporate bunny. I'm in the trenches. Like, I do the work. I experiment. I like to break things. Anything that is happening in an environment like podcasting, I want to know everything and I get deep. And then after you kind of figure stuff out, you can start building your opportunities around whatever you're doing. Now, let's just look at the AI universe. It's really important to understand what is actually the value of AI in podcasting first. Now, yes, there's an ethical conversation to be had. Let's have it. They're happening all over. And yes, there are ethical concerns to have. Great. But just put those aside because the genie is out the bottle, right? Yes, we should all be ethically using AI. There's a lot of things that got to get figured out there. Yes, 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 important. But what's more important is that this tool exists. And AI doesn't mean anything. This is like such a like an epiphany for me. It's the same as saying Photoshop. Like it's just Photoshop doesn't do anything. It helps you. You still, if you're going to use AI well and use it to build your podcast, you still have to understand everything about how podcasting work, what doesn't work, what is mic technique, all of the stuff. Yes, you can use AI as a tool, but it doesn't do it. You can't just say like make podcast, right? So this is the really important thing is that AI is just more valuable tools. It's a term that everyone is throwing around, but it is nothing more than a tool. What does Photoshop do? Nothing. If you know what you want to draw and you are struggling to create it with the tools that you have, Photoshop will help you do that. But you can't just go to Photoshop and say like make picture, right? And AI works the same way. It never works. If you've tried it, you never get what you want when you go to get it to do big things. So you need to break down AI into smaller things, even if you're doing a larger thing, and understand that there's 1,000 AI tools out there, and they each do tiny little different things. So there's no um, one shoe fits. So that's the context. How does AI help? Well, that's a very broad question. It's like saying, how does podcasting help? First, the question on a ground level, AI tools enable you to be able to do world-class work without spending money. Like that's the big great thing. That's why I say it's the ultimate level playing field. You want to start a bank. You could start a bank now because of the AI tools. But you wouldn't just be able to say, hey, IA, build bank. You'd have to be in bank. You'd have to understand every little tiny ecosystem. So I'm using AI at a very high level because I really have done the work and I understand every element of podcasting. So what do I mean? Like, let's look at an audio only podcast. In audio, there's a lot of things that AI is really useful for. It's actually one of the easiest low hanging fruits to explain. For example, um, I've got a really expensive mic here, but I bought this mic. You might not have an expensive mic. So there's incredible tools that give you, and a lot of them are free. Adobe Enhance, Flip. I've got them all at the top of my tongue. I have a little podcast that gives you all these free resources because they're slipping my mind. I've got such great ones. Oh, why have I forgotten the name of them? Um, so there's lots of tools that will enhance audio and they do different things. So you don't have to go out and buy an expensive mic now. You can record it on your phone. You can record it on a really cheapo mic that you got off of some cheapo website, which I won't mention. And even if the quality of that is not great, you can enhance those tools in AI, provided you know what you're doing and you know what good audio sounds like. It's more useful if you've made a mistake or you're in a crowded area to get your audio sounding better. But then there's also different trailer making. So you can make trailers with AI that will also very much help you, things like Opus Clip. But now, if you're going to move into a video podcast, which in Africa is really critical, one of the big insights is that the rest of the world started in audio. Now video is a big thing, and they recognize that none of their tech is compatible because they weren't thinking this was ever going to happen. In Africa, we started as a YouTube like first, and we've migrated into audio. All our tech, all our approach is video first, and that's why we're pioneering. Now, go into the video space. This is where AI becomes very useful for a couple of reasons. One, one of the trends that's happening in podcasting is that production value is now becoming important. So for many years, you could just do your podcast in your bedroom and talk to your friend or interview a celebrity. It didn't matter. But that whole market is saturated and sort of TV and podcasting is becoming synonymous. You now need a great concept for your show. You now need a show format because just doing a bedroom podcast is already out of fashion. Now, one of the problems with having a show format is now you need resources. So you only have a bedroom. You don't have this expensive mic. You don't have lighting and tools. So different AIs that are out there can help you create backdrops without a green screen that look professional, that are in particular environments that might be ready for your podcast to make you look like you're in actually a professional studio and it's quite believable. So then AI is now giving you production quality. And there's a lot of tools in there you can do. There is even AI now. One of your big expenses as a podcaster is in video editing. Adobe has a video editing AI now where it'll actually, if you shoot three cameras, it'll edit them for you, which in front of you in like 30 seconds. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen. Now that's 6 hours of work for me gone down to 3 minutes. So it's enhancing efficiency. But if I don't know how to edit or I don't know what a good edit is, it's not going to be helpful to you. That's why like doing the homework is really important. And then I'm going to go up one more level. Now we're going to get super technical. One of the problems in some of the well-known podcasters that I work with is that podcasters have a way of working. Let's say I'm a very well-known podcaster, and now I've got a one-shot interview with Adekunle Gold, right? And it's an amazing interview, but you have an ad at the beginning of it that is like, let's say it's a bank. You're doing a bank ad that you're doing a live read of before the interview. So before you've got Adekunle Gold, you're saying, here's my ad for ABSA, and now I've got Adekunle Gold. Now, in advertising world, the client wants to approve that ad. So in other words, you have to shoot the interview and then once the interview is done and Adekunle's gone home and you've gone home and you don't have access to the studio anymore, ABSA, oopsie, unknown bank, looks at that ad and says, I'm not happy with how you pronounced our name. So that guy's got to come back now, very unhappily, and try and hire the studio again. And this is the approval process that is proving to be difficult. So we're working on, and again, this is going to cross some lines, and I'm just really showing the scope. This is not practical for all you guys watching, but I'm just trying to show you mindset. We're working on like cloning the podcaster with their permission, so that the ad is seamlessly read by the AI, so that the client can tweak it as much as they want. And when it gets put into the uh, rest of the interview, it's seamless and nobody knows the difference and it works perfectly and everyone is happy. And it takes a lot of the pain out and it creates what AI really does, creates efficiency in your model. Now that's really insane, you think, but go onto my Instagram, you'll see me testing it on my Instagram. It's indecipherable. You won't know that it's not me. It's so brilliant how far that tech is coming. Anyway, that was a super long answer, but there are so many ways to use this tool. But the way you figure out what AI you need is to do the process, run into speed bumps, and see how AI can help with those speed bumps. That was a long
Wow.
speech, sorry.
No, 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 no. It feels like a masterclass for AI in podcasting. And you guys would be interested to know that John is coming back in August. Is it the Tuesday of August? That is on 12th of August, he'll be giving a masterclass on AI for creatives. So everything is talked about. That's just like,
Oh,
uh,
that one, you don't even know what's coming. I'm bringing the mad stuff for that one. You're gonna cry when you see what we do in that masterclass. I promise
yeah,
you.
yeah. So I'm sure we have. So maybe you can share with us what's your Instagram account for anyone who's curious and they want to go check out what you're doing.
So for info, so my Instagram is at Jon Savage, which is just Jon, spelt like is it on here, not with an H. But what's also interesting is I have a podcast. I'm not promoting it. It's called Digital Savage. And why it's
Yeah.
helpful is because people ask me all the time how to get a podcast started. And so on my podcast, it's like everything you need to know, how to set yourself up, podcasting, monetization, content strategy, trends, all of that stuff. So it's very helpful if you're trying to get in. And like I said at the beginning, if you listen to that series, you have no excuses. You will be start your podcast by tomorrow.
Cool. Thank you, John. So I want to take a break and just read a few comments coming in. And guys, just to remind you, if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A chat box so that I can ask John towards the end. So Peter says, John's microphone is very clear. He's just told us it's expensive. And I'm going to ask you, John, what is the most expensive piece of technology you currently own?
That's not a fair question.
I always ask anyone who does tech this. You have
It's
to
not a
tell.
fair question because, and I want to talk about this mic as well in a minute, right?
Yeah.
The other mic I have in the cupboard, and this is a vanity thing now, right? And I'll explain this to you. I've got the Shure SM7B, which is the black microphone that every radio DJ you've ever seen has. That's a really expensive mic. And what I'm got here is the Rode. It's the Rode Pod mic, which is like a tenth of the cost. Now that Shure is a much better mic. I've done comparisons with them. It is such a beautiful, warm sounding mic. And this one is a really good, affordable mic. But I like this because it's white, right? And because I'm talking about podcasting a lot, this is
Yeah.
like a podcasting mic and it looks, and this is more of a prop, but
Yeah.
the reason it's not fair to answer your question is because before, in a previous life, I was a musician, right? And so my recording gear that I have is heavyweight. So even behind here, you can't see what's happening down here. there's like vocal chains here that are set up for like professional recording studios and stuff, and they are not. But the most expensive thing I have that I don't technically own, my business owns. It cost us 1 million rand. We bought it 7 years ago. It is called an SSL 4000E, and is the most sought after mixing console in the world for artists. And why we bought it is we own a studio called Amped Studios, and Amped is a free studio for podcasters and creators. It's the largest empowerment hub in Africa for young creators. We have a community of 15,000 people that come through Amped every day, and everything there is free. And we wanted to have the best studio in the world there so that people who are learning to get into music are learning on amazing gear. Because often learning on real gear that's tactile before you go in the box and look on your laptop is much better. You if you're mixing or creating music on your laptop, you don't actually understanding the skills of what the knobs do so actually having a physical one of it that you can learn on is much better for getting good at your craft.
Guys, you've had from Jon himself. So if you're looking to invest, and maybe perhaps we need a masterclass on Zoom quality Zoom production. Like the first time I met you, which was I just told you your sound was clear. Guys, it's like your sound is awesome. Allow me to read a few comments, and we'll go to the next question. Vicky says it's very interesting how Jon looks at AI. There's another one here on AI enhances quality of your production or work, which is true. And then one more comment, and then we go to the question. Kimani says, actually, he is making me think I'm supposed to add AI course into my resume. That is really interesting. Now, I want to take a step back because I know as a person, you've had risks, you've taken risks in your life. Walk us through the most, should I say, a creative risk that you took that shaped your journey.
Wow, there's been a few. Let me tell you this first. If your intention, if you've got the entrepreneurial spirit, if your intention is to build your own business with your skill set in the creator economy, right? It's not what it looks like. It's a blood sport. You have to be so tough. You have to go, I mean, you have to be really comfortable with failure. And any business person is failing a lot more than they're winning. But you actually learn, like your learning curve on failing. And that's why like starting a podcast, you know, the secret weapon, and I'm sort of I will answer your question eventually, promise.
Yeah.
The secret weapon is getting started, right? The secret weapon is not procrastinating. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, get it started because very quickly you'll learn how hard it is and why it doesn't work. And from that learning, you'll start having to figure out, okay, your mindset will shift to, okay, well, how do I make it work now? Now, it doesn't matter what I tell you. It doesn't matter if you do 50 courses and listen to my entire podcast series. Until you've done one episode, you'll learn more doing one episode and releasing it and it failing than listening to 50 hours of my podcast. And so my career has been like building something that I just really was passionate about and really suffering a lot, right? But the suffering I've learned so much, particularly from the things that didn't work. I think there's been like two or three really pivotal things in my life. Let me try and pick one. I think Amped Studios is one of the most pivotal things, and I'll tell you why. Because I had this idea that I love my business partners. I've been with them for like 10 years, but nobody really believed in it. And I wanted to create a free empowerment hub. What I saw when I was in my band traveling the world, I saw that in other countries there's infrastructure for the creator economy, and we don't have anything in Africa. Like you're by yourself, right? There's very few managers, there's very few support systems, and so you are really on your own. And the main things people don't have is access to resources, AI or capital, like capital and resources are the same thing. What do you need money for? You need money to build the thing, right? Access to resources, access to mentorship, someone who's going to talk to you and show you and give you guidance when you're stuck. And most importantly is like the financial education component. What does that mean? How do you actually build your business like properly? What are the steps that you need to actually make it into a business? So I can teach you how to make brilliant music and brilliant podcasts, but how do you turn it into a business? So like the business component. And the idea was, what if we started a studio? I mean, our studio it's a big double-story building. It's huge. It's beautiful. It's got a world-class recording studio. It's got 4 podcasting studios. It's got YouTube studios. It's got TikTok studios. It's got a live stage and an eventing space. We have hot desks that are free. Everything is free. We've got masterclasses every week with the top talent. And we've got speed networking sessions once a month where we introduce people who are in the creator industry to professionals so that they get to actually meet them. And the idea was, how can we create this ecosystem for free without getting any government support? And we did it. And it was 3 years in the making. I had one really big failure that bankrupted me, that taught me a lot about going to business with criminals. I didn't know he was a criminal at the time. And it really like flattened me out. After that, I lost faith in everything. And I thought, I'm done as an entrepreneur. I'm going to go and get a job and be miserable for the rest of my life doing something I don't want to do. But it was like a lot of pain. That was one of the darkest times in I bankrupted myself on this thing. And it was my kid, actually. My kid was just young enough. He just started talking. And some of the first words he said were some of the bad things I'd been talking about because I was obsessed with this thing, right? And when he did that, I was like, right, it's war. And I had to I literally changed my personality from like a very lovely, like sort of easy to go, gullible, trustworthy visionary to like hardcore badass. And I went to war. Literally, that's what it felt like. I went to war to get back to regain what I'd built and to rebuild it. And I'll never forget the day that AMP launched. It was absolutely packed. We had Tandiswa Mazwai there. We had Kaifa Semenya and Letta Mbulu, two of the global legends of all time who worked with Michael Jackson, right? They were at the launch. The place was absolutely packed. All of the time building up to AMPed was just pure pain, pure perseverance, believing in a vision. And even my own partners were just going along because they liked me. But on the day it launched, which was 6 years ago, everybody went like, oh, is this what you meant? Oh, of course, this is going to work, right? And that has built me so much credibility in the industry. When anyone questions what I'm capable of, all they have to do is meet me at AMPed. And when they walk in there, they go like, okay, now we can talk seriously. So it was not my intention for AMPed to play such a significant role in my life. But a lot of my businesses, even my podcasting network, was grown out of the community. The community is so passionate in creating podcasts and music. So, I mean, and that could have gone either way, right? That's not genius. That's like stubbornness, and stubbornness can hurt you, and make you, right? But the most important thing is when you're absolutely down and out, and there's no more options, to try and figure out whether it's time to pivot or it's time to dig in deeper. That's the biggest pain in life, to try and figure out what the right direction is, but also trusting that there's always a way. When you don't think there is a way, you haven't dug deep enough.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Sorry if
Oh,
I feel like
wow.
I'm giving long speeches here. I apologize.
Oh, no. In fact, I'm just thinking, the more you're speaking, I'm thinking, wow, you're best suited everywhere because you've been on stages, you've spoken on stages like TEDx. Someone said here, Linus has said, secret weapon is getting started, not procrastinating deep, which is true. So they're just echoing the words that you're speaking. And I want to take you back because you've been on multiple stages and platforms. What is that one question that you get from young creators, be it in whether you're in Chicago or you're in London or you're in Africa? That one question that young creators come to you and ask, Jon, can you just share?
It's the same question, and it's the reason I build AMPed, and it's the reason that the business I have exists. What is our biggest pain point in this continent? It's money. That's what the tech that is being funded and built in the rest of the world is about like enhancing your voice and stuff. But really, the pain point is access to capital, So the question is always about monetization. How do I monetize my podcast? How do I build a business that creates revenue? So like revenue creation is always the question in podcasting. Actually in everything. How do you
in
actually
all
build something that creates revenue? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think as African creatives, that is the biggest struggle, monetizing your work. Yeah. So Betty says, start, fail, pick up yourself, and start again. And to ask you as an entrepreneur, as a boss, when you're hiring young people, what is that one quality you look out for? That you say, this person can work for me, and this one, not right now.
Okay, this is the greatest question ever asked. No one's asked it to me, and it's the one I would love to answer. And I'm desperately hunting for somebody at the moment, but they are
Ooh,
unicorns. I've got somebody in my business. So the hardest to find skill set that is the gold mine for someone if I'm looking to hire somebody.
mhm.
And that is it's a very subtle quality and it's hard to explain. It is problem solving. And that means I want to be able to, and to be a problem solver is someone who, when they don't know the answer, they will figure it out, find out, do the research before coming to you, before coming to me and saying, I don't know how to do A, B, and C. They'll go off and they'll spend all night figuring it out. And that is such an important component, and so many people don't have it. So, like, if I give you a task, I want you to figure stuff out. Don't know how deep the rabbit hole is. Go down, figure out, and bring me back some options. And why that's an important thing is because it shows self-actualization, self-motivation. It means this person isn't just doing the list of A, B, and C, coming to work and doing the thing and going home. And that is important. You might need administrative roles and stuff, but the things I am looking for are those people who are not scared to get their hands dirty, to figure something out without me knowing about it and only coming to me. Like, what makes me happy is someone going, listen, I heard your problem. I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning. Figured this thing out, but I got stuck here. And I'll say, well, have you tried this? And they go, didn't know that. And then they vanish again. And when they come back, they've got a solution. And that is my dream, to find those people. And they're very rare. We call them unicorns and we're on the hunt for them.
Okay, so I want to read something very interesting. The people on the call are currently going through the 3 months prerequisite course. And one of the things that are being taught is on analysis. So the skill is quantitative reasoning, which is leveraging data to make well-informed decision, entrepreneurial thinking, identifying opportunities and problem solving, critical thinking, which is evaluating situations and approaches thoroughly. So would you say they should just first of all, graduates before they become creatives? And would we say that learning is very important? Because as creatives, sometimes we think that being a creative is all about creating things that are, speak to the soul and are very iconic. Then we ignore all these other soft skills, the skills that are in between. So what do you have to say about even what is being taught and who you're looking for and how you get to identify them? I know there are very many questions in one, but you get where I'm driving at.
I got a little bit lost in there. I'll try and figure out some of those things. We didn't speak about communication, by the way. That was also a critical one.
You will tell us that the rule, the golden rule in your
Okay.
company. Yeah.
Do you want to do that now, or should I come back to that?
You can do that, then come back to what I'm asking in terms of what they're learning and why it is important for them to acquire these skills before becoming creatives.
Okay. All right. Now I've got an answer for that. So the
Yeah.
first one is I forgot a very important skill is communication. And in our business, we have one really big rule, and that is, and it's like something I have to shout all day. It drives me nuts. Because you won't believe how people do not follow this rule. But you can screw up really, as you can make the worst screw up ever of all time. Even if it's you've made the screw up before and it's unforgivable. Like you had Adekunle Gold. He was here for 1 hour and now he's flown off to America and you lost the footage, right? Like something that is inexcusably bad. In our business, you will be forgiven for any mistake. But what is a fireable offense, and I mean like immediately fireable, is not communicating the problem. Because here's the reason. So let's just take that fictional example. If I find out in a week's time when I'm trying to go live with the Adekunle Gold thing, that footage is gone. You're gone because there was a week there that we could have worked as a team to figure out another problem. Maybe you hadn't got to the airport yet when you first figured it out, but you were so nervous or you were scared that you didn't tell anyone. But that was a pivotal moment. Like you might have figured out right after he left. I could have got him back. We could have got him back. Or we could have made another plan. We could have planned something. So people often, when they make mistakes, they clam up and they don't talk about them. They don't own up to them. They blame someone else. I'm very aggressive in my business, like scary aggressive to get to the root of the problem. And people mistake that aggression because I'm trying to find out who's responsible. But I'm not. I'm trying to find out what went wrong to try and say, let's put something in that space that we don't make the same mistake. But because everyone's like pointing fingers at each other, I have to get super aggressive and say, like, what did you do? And it's not to try and tell you, Winnie, you're in trouble. It's to say, oh, so you forgot to put the card in. All right, how do we stop that happening? What we're going to do now is somebody else is going to have to sign off that the card is in the camera from now on. So we solved that problem.
Yeah.
But if you do not communicate as and when it happens, for me, that's how my business is hurt. It's like most of our issues have been caused from no communication, and that's why we put that rule in.
Wow. Most marriages are failed because of lack of communication.
Communication, yes. I mean, I've been married 20 years and we have this conversation all the time. We still try to figure out how to communicate with each other, you know? Um,
So
soft
the last
skills.
part of the last part
Yeah,
of
so
the
the soft
question.
skills. So like I don't have an immediate answer, but the one thing that sprung to mind was let's just go to the AI analogy because if you want to make videos in AI, right? If you are not learning every day and if you're not tinkering, like this is why I'm an I don't want to call it expert, there aren't any experts, but I'm considered to be quite far in this AI space, is not because I'm some sort of amazing person. It's because I have actually spent time, I work till late and then I tinker and I want to figure out stuff. And it's that figuring out that gives me the edge over competitors in my business, in podcasting, in all of the stuff that we're doing. For example, do you know how hard it is to get AI videos, if you've ever played with it, to give you the same character in different scenes? Because even when you give AI the same prompt, it gives you a different face. So how do you have this character and this character? And I've now done a deep dive in, it's called character weight, how to create the same characters in different scenes. Now, I only know that not because it's a brief or it's part of my thing, because I've gone and done a deep dive to solve the intermediate problems. No one else is talking about that as a problem. But now I've figured that out and it's sitting in my backbone, my backpack. When somebody else is coming to me and saying, I'm trying to create something, I've got an edge over everybody because I've understood how to create consistent characters so I can offer you something in that space. So like the always on learning thing, which you get from failing and trying stuff, even if the stuff isn't, I'm sorry if I'm boring you with all these different stories, but I
No,
just want to give you
no,
one
no, no,
funny
no.
thing. When NFTs, when NFTs dropped, don't know if you remember NFTs.
Yes, yes, yes.
For 5 minutes, they were the biggest thing in the world, right? For five
Yeah,
minutes. You
yeah.
have no idea what happened. In those months, I um I was interested in NFTs and I was playing and I really wanted to understand deeply in it. And long story, I'm not going to tell you now. I actually recorded a podcast about it because it was so nuts. I ended up owning one of the biggest NFTs in the world and then losing the entire thing. And I created total havoc. It was mad. I didn't make a penny. I didn't lose it, but the venture was so insane that when I was done with that, I really had a deep understanding of NFTs. And I was like, I'm not going to do anything with this. I put it in my backpack. And when people now say, look, I'm working on a project that has an NFT component, my level of understanding is very deep. And if I'm looking for, you know, an idea, an example would be, I'm not some sort of blockchain expert, but the NFT experience gave me a very shallow but quick deep dive into blockchain. And now everyone is talking about, for example, how do we know which music is real and which is an AI generated? Like I've been talking at a senior level to tech companies to say, what if we build a blockchain where people's real music is on the blockchain, so it's verifiable. And that's only could have come to me because of my deep dive in NFT, even though it had nothing to do with my business. I was just like, whatever this is, it's interesting. I want to learn more. I'm going to spend a
Mm,
few weeks like
mm,
getting obsessed with this, and everyone thinks I'm nuts. But when I come back, it's not that I want to be an NFT expert. I want to understand stuff, and you should too. And that is
yeah.
really the key to driving this entire industry is always like figuring stuff out, because that's your competitive advantage over everybody else. How well do you actually understand what you're doing?
I love that. Love, love, love that. And you can't take people where you've never been. So how do you guide? Yeah. So
Right.
Eve has asked something here. Winnie, please get the name of the other podcast that has all the information about podcasting. You had mentioned
It's
that.
called the Digital Savage.
Yeah.
Digital
Then
Savage, yeah.
do you mind telling us where exactly Armed Studio is in Joburg?
It is in the Newtown Junction Mall in Newtown, in central Joburg in town.
Cool. Now we're changing gears. I'm coming to the Q&A, and Benita is asking, video in podcasting is becoming a huge thing. Would you say there is still a future for audio only podcasts?
There is, but look, the people in my, this is just my opinion, so take this a pinch of salt. The people who are really advocating audio only podcasts are radio enthusiasts and people who have done a lot in the podcasting space. The reality is that currently in the world, the problem with audio podcasting is that there is no discovery engine. In other words, how do you find podcasts? Still to this day, 95% of podcasts are word of mouth. So if
Mm,
you're a new podcast, you are going to struggle to be seen. And there are so many out there. And in the audio space, when I say there's no discovery, I mean there's no way for someone to find you. Like whoever solves this problem is going to be a millionaire. If there was like some huge global publication that people subscribe to and got recommendations, even Spotify's own editorial is not, people don't really browse it that much. So getting your podcast discovered is really hard. Now, YouTube and TikTok are massive discovery engines. And all the data has shown that most people do not complete their listen on YouTube. So they will discover you on YouTube and then move to your audio podcast. TikTok as well. Like TikTok is a driver of awareness to your podcast. So having a video component is important to the infrastructure of what you're trying to build because those two video platforms really drive people to discover you. And then you can, the audio component is still important, but less and less, I think it is possible to have just an audio one. It's possible to do. You're just missing out on a lot of your market. I mean, be where people are. That's how, not where you are. But
mm.
yeah, but what I would also say is start with audio only. Build, learn through audio only. Only move to video when you feel safe, when you've got infrastructure, when you feel like you've got it, because so many podcasts and video are crap because they're just there for the sake of being there. It'll never work that way. So only move into video when you're ready for it.
Cool. Sorry, I was trying to multitask. Someone has asked, how long did it take for your podcast to monetize? But I think you've answered that very well in terms of you have to do the most by making sure you're on different platforms. So do you want to answer that?
Yes, so monetization is a different animal, right? And here's what you have to understand. This is one of the biggest misunderstandings in the podcasting space. People think that if you go have the best idea for a podcast and you take it to a brand, they will sponsor it. And this is the brutal reality. Brands do not give a damn about your podcast. What they care about is audiences.
Yeah.
So, building a podcast is like pushing a snowball uphill. It's really hard, but it only gets bigger, right? So, the route to market is forget about what you like, make the coolest idea that you're passionate about because it's going to be long. You're going to be in for a long, hard slog. It's hard to make one. And so make sure it's something you're passionate about that you can do for a period of time. And once you have an audience, now audience doesn't have to be big because there are different audiences. There's scale audiences. So if you're doing a lifestyle podcast like a MacG, like you need scale. And that's when you're getting for like tens of thousands of audiences. That's the lifestyle segment. And that you got to build up an audience. But you might be doing something super niche like extreme fishing podcast, right? Now, if you're into extreme fishing and you only have 1,000 listeners of your podcast, let me tell you something. Fishing rods are really expensive, and those people are really struggling to find the fishing community. Your 1,000 people is worth gold to them. So the first thing you have to do is focus on building your community, and that's monetizable. Sometimes you can do it. A little bit of a cheat is that you can go early on if you've got something. When I started one of my podcasts, and I'll give you an example, I started this podcast called What's Your Poison during COVID. And the idea was I wanted to drink whiskey with people on, but they were at home, right? And so I
Yeah.
went and I knew I wanted to see if I could monetize it up front. So I went to a brand in South Africa that does whiskey distribution, like obscure whiskeys. And I did a partnership deal with them where they gave me a little bit of money each month, which was great. It just covered the costs. And they sent a bottle of whiskey to both me and the guest each week. And we opened them on air, tasted them, and then did an interview. And so it wasn't profitable, but it got me like in the game. It actually, and it was a nice way to get in early. But that just builds a little, you just need a bit of momentum. And then once you start having regular audiences, you're golden. You can sell audiences, but focus on your audience, not your concept.
Cool.
Yeah.
Before we switch gears to music discovery, Faith is asking, how do you tap into your creative realm?
I don't know what that means.
I think it's how do you, maybe how do you get creative? Do you have like, how do you, yeah, because realm is a different world. Like, how do you operate different from everyone else in the creative industry?
I
That's
don't
their
know. I
realm.
don't know how to answer that. So I got a lot. I mean, I don't have enough. I could do so much more if I had more arms and legs and more money and more time, right? And that's because I've got a burning desire. I mean, that's what a creator is. I've got a burning desire to make stuff all the time. So I don't know how to be inspired. I'm always inspired because I just have to look at some videos on YouTube and go, wow, I want to do that. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. How did he, and that's really what drives it is I'll often look at something. Maybe it's a really cool AI video. I'll go, how did he do that? Like, that's incredible. And then I'll sit for hours trying to recreate what he's doing. And then it will teach me something new. And then I'll go, oh, okay, well, now if I can do that, I wonder if I can do that. And this is what I'll show you in the AI class that we do. Like, and so I don't really know the answer to the question. What I would say is one of the things I learned from being in a band that I still apply to every piece of creative that I do is that you need to have two hats. Your one hat is your pure creative, and your second hat is your like business hat. And you can't wear them at the same time. So like a musician who's trying to write a hit song will never do it. Or if you're trying to make a commercial podcast, it'll never happen. And so the kind of trick is you put on your creative hat and you say, there are no limits. I'm going to make a podcast about pooping on the toilet, whatever. You don't care what it's about. You just want to make, and wouldn't it be cool if, like, oh, no one's done this? And it can be as crazy as possible, right? And you develop that idea with no constraints and you build this mad thing. Okay. And then you say, all right, I'm turning that off. That thing is the coolest, maddest thing ever. Then you put on your commercial hat, and it's not a building hat. This is a shaping hat, right? It's like the producer of a song. You've written the song, but it's totally mad and it's 43 minutes long. And it's never going to get played on radio, right? And the chorus has got 16 F-bombs, right? So that's what you've made in the moment. Now you got to put on your business hat and go, okay, um, I don't want to take away from the creativity of this. I recognize the beauty of this thing. There's something amazing in here. How do I now shape it for the world, the world that I'm going to do? So I'm going to, if it's a song, I'm going to just round it. I want to keep the essence and round a few things. If it's a podcast, I'm like, look, this may work. I'm willing to take a risk, but it needs to be like this. One of the biggest podcasts in the world is called My Dad Wrote a Porno, right? Now, these guys, this is the story of this podcast. These two kids, they found in their dad's attic that their dad, when he was 19, he wrote an erotic book, like literature. And they read it as a podcast, one page at a time, and they just tore it to shreds. They just like laughed at it. They made a joke of it. It was this like erotic novel that their dad had written. Now that they didn't go in there with their commercial hat firmly on, right? And that has become a multi-million-dollar enterprise. They tour that thing, they've got merch, it's become cult. And so that's why like the lesson is the creativity thing needs to be quite pure, and then your business hat to come in and just give it some shape so that it can go into the world and have its best chance of success.
I love that. And you touched on authenticity. You've talked about two hearts. There's someone who's asked any tips on music discovery in Africa, given you haven't touched on this. So you've talked about wearing two hats. Any other tips you have in music discovery in Africa that you can give?
Well, I mean, weirdly, we've also identified that there is I don't know if the question is how do you discover new music or how do you get discovered?
I think whichever way you can answer, because it's not specific, this is music discovery.
Okay, so let me answer this. There's quite a technical answer to the second one, the first one. So I think the music market is very competitive, and getting discovered is a big thing. We're actually starting a new show that we've been developing for 3 years that will be like live on TikTok and YouTube. That is, I'll tell you, it's a secret, but it's called the Africa Top 40, and and what we identified is that back in the day, top 40 shows, they were really important to music and they were really considered cool. And the reason was not because of the top 40 tunes, but because in between every three tracks, we would play something that was new and emerging. And that's how we discovered new music, by listening to the top 40 and then going, before I play you Drake's new song, there's a new artist that I want to put in here. And so and that is what's missing from the industry. So we're actually building this big top 40 show, and it's built for discovery, for artists to drive new discovery for artists. So that's one thing. Otherwise, like Spotify's got a pretty good algorithm for discovering new music, playlists, getting onto playlists and all that stuff. But if you are an artist looking for discovery, there's a very interesting technique that we've played with that I stole from music and I'm applying in podcasting. Now, this is going to get super duper technical, so I'm going to try. I don't want to, this will take me half an hour to explain, so I'm going to try to do it in 3 minutes. Then you have to go do the research. You have to do the research. Facebook marketing is flawed for musicians because Facebook promotes products. That's what it's built for. So if you're going to go into and sell your band or your music into Facebook, it's a very hard thing, and it costs a lot of money. But there is a very different strategy that a lot of artists have used that is I think is super groundbreaking and innovative, where you can use Facebook marketing and Instagram marketing for discovery instead of promotion. And it's a completely different mindset. And it works like this. I don't even, okay, I feel like I'm going to go way too deep. This is the theory that works really well. You find an artist that you sound like, not you. You have to be really honest with yourself. You have to find an artist that sounds similar to you. You have to do a cover of that song or something in the genre of that song. And then you place it in Facebook marketing, targeting people who like the song that you're covering. So I'm just using Drake as an example. Let's say you are similar to Drake. You don't sound like Drake, but your music is similar to Drake. You create a song that's a Drake cover, let's call it, and you put it into Facebook you target Drake fans, but you don't promote anything. You just play the song. And what happens is Drake fans discover you because you've targeted into Facebook. They discover you doing a Drake song. They click over to your page and they hear your music. And guess what? You sound a little bit like Drake. You've got a new fan. Now, that would take an hour to actually explain, but there are lots of tactics that you can use to trick the algorithm to do discovery. That might be
Wow.
that might be completely over everyone's head, but if you actually drill down on that and do some research, I didn't invent that. There's a lot of stuff online on that strategy. If you follow that, it's really interesting. And even if it doesn't work for you, the theory of it makes you think differently about how to get discovered. You might be able to apply it in different other ways.
Tomorrow you'll see people with targeting Jon Savage's fans.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
that's yeah.
Let's talk
Do it.
about unicorn you mentioned. Rex is asking, what skills do you think this unicorn possesses other than problem solving and, being one step ahead of you and being resilient? What is that thing? This person would like to know.
So I don't know if the thing I struggle with is not like capability. It's almost cultural, right? There's something about, and maybe it's just youth. Maybe I'm just old and jaded, right? But this idea of taking responsibility and being kind of goal driven rather than checkbox driven. Checkbox driven means you're doing your job perfectly. Great.
Yeah.
AI can do that, by the way. AI can do your job perfectly. But the person who understands the goal and that everything they're doing is to help you achieve that goal. So I don't know how to quantify that. That is the skill set that is most important. Communication and organization, but
Yeah.
self-actualization is really critical in business. Maybe it's just in my business.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know.
I like
Maybe I think that might be a repetition of what I said earlier.
I've been in the org for 4 years, and I remember the first year of working in the org, Naima, because Naima is my immediate boss, she used to tell
Oh,
me, you're perfect. Everything you do is perfect. Like you do all the tasks and all that, but I need you to start thinking strategically. You
so
need to,
I've said this exact same thing to people. You're doing exactly what I asked for you, but what you need to engage brain now, right? You need to
yeah,
engage. Yeah. And I think it's fear driven. I think it's fear based, and that's the problem. And that's why I say it's like youth and culture. And look, I am soft on the inside, but I've learned to be quite intimidating, not on purpose, but no one takes me seriously, right? But they all know that I can be intimidating, and I don't mean to be. My intention is there, and so the negative of that, I actually just need someone to speak up and tell me what's what. And so just because I'm talking louder doesn't mean you should talk softer, right? And I think
yeah,
that's where things get like lost in translation, where you just, yeah, communication again.
clear. So if they are to forget everything that you spoke about today, what is that one thing that you would, or one sentence, one paragraph you'd use to summarize everything that we've discussed today? Before I hand over the mic back to the hosts.
Trust your gut. Your gut is usually right, and it's hard to learn to trust it, especially if everyone is telling you it can't be done or it shouldn't be done. Maybe it shouldn't be done. So you have to actually know that you're not just being stubborn. But often your gut, I have found so many times that my gut was telling me all the time what the right moves were, and I was ignoring it because I was insecure. So I was asking for lots and lots of advice, and I got 7 different opinions from 7 people that I trust. It was confusing. But sometimes you got to be quiet. Trust your instincts. They're usually right. That's my big takeaway.
I love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Before you go, we have a present for you. Everyone on the call, I want us to do something to honor Jon for his time. As you know, we don't pay our guests. They do it because they are paying forward. They have walked this journey. They would want us to actually take in one or two things from them. So I want you guys to go to the chat. I want you to type in the one take out from this session. We want to
Hmm.
give Jon his flowers for him to know that he's not wasted the 60, 70 minutes that he's been here. So I'll say go. So just type. When I say go, then we put. So hold on. I want you to all type in the one thing you're taking out from this session. I will count down from 3 to 1. When I say 1, we will all put in. Okay, cool. Let's go. Type in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, Jon, those are your flowers. Those are
Wow.
your flowers.
Amazing. Thanks,
These
everybody. What an honor.
So thank you, thank you, thank you so much on behalf of each and every person dialing in, for everyone who put time aside. Jon, we want to honor you. We celebrate you. We thank you for your time. And yeah, we hope to do this again on 12th of August as we hand over the mic to you to just do everything AI creative.
And thank you. Honored to be with you, Winnie, and you've been amazing. And Dorcas and the whole team. Your team is incredible.
Thank you.